I
We'll
think
just
we're
wait
probably,
for Joel to get us ready.
okay.
Yeah.
Yay, we have quorum. YouTube is live.
Well, good afternoon and welcome everybody to our meeting. First off, we have the 2.1, the adoption of the agenda, and we are going to add item 6.2, discussion about the wheelchair curling event. Was there any other additions to the agenda today? Nope, seeing none. Can we have a motion to accept the agenda? Councillor Elmsley, seconded by Sonia, and all in favor? Wonderful. Item 2.2, any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. 2.3, the adoptions of the minutes from last meeting. So hopefully you've had a chance to look them over. Was there any errors or omissions to the minutes? And if not, we'll get someone to motion to accept them. Andre, seconded by Elizabeth, and all in favor. Wonderful. That brings us to item 3. We don't have any deputations or presentations today, or any correspondence. So we'll move right along to item 5.1, which would be Barb's, our accessibility officer's update for us.
Thanks, Crystal. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I guess I'll start with last evening. I attended the Trails Master Plan consultation piece and provided feedback through their sticky notes in their chat, and there were some interesting points shared. So we're in the very early stages of the development of the master plan. Of course, they're using the previous one as a basis to work from, and they have gathered quite a lot of information through Jump In. So if you're interested in completing the survey that's available on Jump In, you may wish to do that. It would be beneficial, to add comments from this committee as far as accessibility to the trails, as far as any other comments that you'd like to make. There's specific questions there, and would be very helpful to the Trails Master Plan as it proceeds forward. This morning, I attended a senior management team meeting to gain their feedback on some management directives that I completed during the summer. Basically, most of the directives are unchanged, okay, such as people utilizing service animals in public spaces in our city buildings, facilities, and temporary notifications, etc. I put 4 forward. One of them did require change, and that is the change to the accessible meetings template. To recognize Zoom and accessibility to virtual meetings. Now, that particular management directive, it may become part of an overall meetings directive that is being created, and I think probably a good place for it, because then accessibility hits the forefront, and we can make everyone aware within the organization. One of the biggest pieces to that is that we need to ask people within our meeting invites to disclose if they have a requirement, like such as closed captioning during a specific meeting, so that they can participate fully. That's just one example. I also introduced the resource for pre-consultation when it comes to site plan development, and which you all reviewed and had a look at during our last meeting. And I received no comment back, which is always, like, that's a good thing, I believe. But again, you can still send it forward. It's still in a draft format. It has been shared with our planning division in draft. And in fact, Ian has actually moved it forward on one of the pre-consultation pieces. So he's shared it already most recently. So that's a good sign. You know, they both Sherry and Ian from planning, they have seen the document, and I've also shared it with Mark. And so they will be sharing it as far as a pre-consultation piece. And it was also discussed at senior management that it be shared with our building department just for information purposes. They might want to provide it to people that are applying for a building permit, and they might find it quite helpful. So the senior management team is taking a close look at it. Richard Hawley has suggested that he would speak to his staff about it and garner their feedback if there's change that's needed, and then we can move it from a draft form to a, you know, a full-fledged pre-consultation resource for site plan development. So I think that's a good step forward in a good direction when it comes to providing comment on site plan. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to arrange a meeting with planning. They are behind the gun, as we all know. We've seen the site plans come through, and there's a number of them. So you know, it's so that part's been done. It's been shared with the senior management team and with planning. During the last month, I've also prepared and provided information to Kathy Ritchie, our city clerk, on filing the city's accessibility compliance report. This report is due to the province by the end of December. And I like to provide it way before the actual due date to make sure that they have it. We went through quite a comprehensive review or audit by the province last December. And I'm quite confident that we are able to answer, you know, and provide this, you know, this piece to them, you know, saying yes, that we are compliant, or at least reasonably compliant in the requirements that, you know, that have been put forward through questions. I'm trying to think of what else. I think that's basically it, Crystal. I've addressed a number of different things, and later on in this agenda, you'll see an accessibility plan for the election, and we'll discuss that later on. So thank you for the time.
Thank you, Barb. Was there any questions or comments for Barb at this time? Diane?
Just on the site plan pre-consultation, were you saying that we could still send you comments? Because I think I might have missed that somewhere along the line, because I don't think I reviewed it. Was that your intention, or were you talking about other people having to?
No, if you have any comment, Diane, I would be more than happy to receive them and have discussion about it.
Okay, and is it at the end of the agenda from last meeting? Is that where it is? Where do I find that?
I sent it to you directly through Zen 2. Yeah,
okay,
so you might want to take a look.
I must have missed that, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll do that.
But if you don't have it, I can do it again, Diane.
All
not
right.
a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So we'll move on. If there's no other questions or comments, we will move on to 5.2, public awareness. Elizabeth.
Well, we haven't had a meeting yet since summer, but always a good reminder that if you see someone or a business that's doing great things, you can complete the application for an accessibility, or the nomination form for accessibility awards, which will be given out in 2022, but we take nominations throughout the year. So it's always nice if you do it when you see it happening, as opposed to try to remember it come February, March. So, but we'll be planning a committee meeting in the next month and have more to report next month.
Councillor Elmsley?
Are you going to take note of that pharmacy in Omimi?
That pharmacy has already received an award. But we
Okay,
possibly could, because now it's got new owners. So it was the former owner. So yes, probably they would be an excellent one.
okay.
And so it was nice to hear Elizabeth, sorry to interrupt, hear Elizabeth say that they're offering to go right to your vehicle if you need a flu shot. That's wonderful.
So that's all I have to report, Crystal.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. Any other questions or comments? Always a good reminder to keep in mind the nominations for the Accessibility Awards. So moving right along, 5.3, public spaces, and Andre.
We haven't had a meeting either, but which probably should in the foreseeable future. I haven't seen any new projects at this point in time, so touch wood. I'm sure we could get swamped. But it's good to hear, though, what Barb, but you had stated that the planning department seems to be somewhat accepting the pre-consultation. And other than that, I don't think, unless Diane has any issue or whatever, I don't think we have anything at this point in time either. Or Sonia, did you know anything?
No, nothing new.
I'll
Okay.
arrange it. I will be arranging meetings, in the next couple of weeks with both groups so that we can get started on some initiatives.
So that's it.
Okay, thank you, Andre. On to 5.4 and Councillor Elmsley.
Oh, thank you. I don't have a whole lot to report. We're starting to move into budget season. And I guess there are one or two notes. As far as the budget goes, we haven't seen the details yet, so I don't know all of the things that are in there that may need us looking at them. As soon as I do see it, if there's anything that jumps out at me, I'll be sure to get in touch with Barb and make sure that we address it. One of the things that did happen yesterday at council, council by a narrow vote voted for ATVs on a route through Lindsay. And I don't know, how that affects most people, but I think we need to be aware that there's another form of traffic coming in Lindsay on particular streets. So everybody's going to have to be vigilant. I had a request in Fenland with the new downtown, and I'm puzzled as to what to do about it, and maybe I can get some input. One person with accessibility issues is worried about parking on the street in the downtown, and I'm not sure why it's different than it was from other years. But what she was saying to me is the street is a little narrower than it was. And she says when she now gets out of her car or vehicle and gets her walker out, because of the way the curbing is, she has to go to the corner to access the sidewalk. Now, I'm not sure how that differs from the way it was before. And she's also concerned about the winter time with windrows of snow. And again, I don't know how that differs from other years. I do know that most store owners do clear a path through the windrow to allow cars, people getting out of cars to access the sidewalk and get into their businesses. So I don't know if I'm missing something here, and I went down and had a look, and I'm not sure what a solution might be. She thought that by having cutouts in the curbs at the handicap accessible parking spots might make it better. And I'm not sure that's the case. And before I go and talk to engineering, I thought I would bring it up here and see if anybody had any thoughts or comments on it that would help me when I go and talk to them. So I kind of throw that out there. Other than that, there are a number of projects coming down the pipeline. As Barb indicated, the planning and building group are very, very busy, and we see the construction going on in the Northwest Trunk. And there are a couple of other very large builds that are coming down the pipe, and I expect we'll see them, see plans for them probably in the new year. And other than that, unless anybody has any questions, I would appreciate any comments on what I should do with engineering as far as downtown Fenland goes.
Andre?
You know, having the, as you stated, Councillor Elmsley, having a cutouts right where the parking lot, the parking areas for the accessible parking spaces are located would negate her from walking onto the road for distance to get onto a parking, onto a ramp area, a little cutout area. I think that's a very good choice. Because I guess they don't have it right now, correct?
They don't have it right now, and the problem is that between the sidewalk and the curb is interlocking brick.
So they'd have to.
I don't know what they'd have to do.
In the sidewalk.
That's, yeah, that's sort of, I hate to say this, Councillor Elmsley, but typically there is a curb cut wherever there is an accessible parking location and a travel route.
Yeah, that hasn't been the case in Fenland that I've noticed.
Oh, okay, all right. With the new build, there probably should have been something included with a little bit of a walkway and a curb cut. That's a shame. I don't know what to say. It would be difficult for them to change it, I would imagine, right now.
I don't know. I can go back and talk to them and see if it's possible. But it doesn't exist right now. And as I say, the situation is not much different than it has been in previous years. And again, windrows of snow, while council has asked Public Works to take away the snow in the downtowns when it gets to be, I think it's 3 feet now instead of 4 feet. I could be wrong about that, but they moved the bar downwards so that the snow got removed in a more timely manner. But just the same, there will be a period of time when there's a snowbank there. So I'm not sure which problem we're solving. And I appreciate the comment, Andre, and I will, and Barb, that there should be a cutout and some kind of a walkway. So I will go to engineering with that and ask why it wasn't done and if it's possible to make any changes at this juncture.
The only other suggestion would be to relocate the accessible location to the corners.
They are at the corners, but with the bump outs.
Oh,
You have to go around.
okay. All right.
So
Bit of,
Mhm.
I think one of the concerns was being on the road with a walker.
Can't blame them.
Yeah.
Diane?
Well, you just mentioned, Councillor Elmsley, that you will be asking them why that wasn't done. And I think that's the key question, like, why wasn't it done?
Yeah.
And what, because it must be, I don't know, thousands of dollars to fix problems like this. And I would think there would just be really basic protocols for doing any kind of street work that includes accessibility now. And so it's very odd that that happened. I mean, I also heard, and I don't know if this is true, and it's not really an accessibility issue, but I also heard that the fire trucks can't go around that corner anymore and they have to take a different route.
No, they could. It depends on the time of day and it depends on the day of the year. But
Okay,
most often they're fine to do it because they can just swing out a little wider and they can cut the corner. So it was all, the design for the downtown was run by the fire department and they didn't come back with any comments. The same is true of the snowplows. It was run past Public Works and there were no comments. So the assumption when there are no comments is that they don't have a problem.
so is that something that as accessibility advisory committee that we might have a say in, that these things do have to be looked at more carefully in future, so that to prevent all the extra cost of having to fix the problem, because we're so far down that road now, we shouldn't be having to fix this.
Well, I think what we're looking at basically is, if I'm correct, probably 6 parking spots on the main street. So I don't know how, I don't know what that would entail, because there's one in front of the Bank of Montreal, one in front of CIBC, one down by Subway, across the road from Subway in front of the quilt store, and one up by the Cow and Sow, and one across the road by our new cannabis shop. I think that's, that pretty well covers it. So I will talk to engineering about it and see, because they're not finished with the construct yet, and we may be able to do something.
Right, and I'll have a look. I'm happy to go take a look if I have any suggestions. I mean, one thing I've noticed, and when you talk about like having a walker, and that you have to go around and find a a way onto the sidewalk. I know for myself, without a walker, that with the narrowing of the street, you really do have to be careful just getting out of your car at all. Like, you have to, there isn't as much room now between parked cars and the oncoming traffic. So you do have to be really careful. And if you do have anything extra, you have to be doubly careful that you're not getting out in front of somebody that's, going to run you over.
Yeah.
So, but I'll take a look too. And if I have any suggestions, I'd be happy to send them.
Thank you.
Andre, did you have a comment?
Yes. I believe, and again, from not have seen it physically, but since it's interlocking stone, and usually when you have a cutout and then it'll be like a little ramp going up towards where the sidewalk level would be. So there would be a V kind of, well, not really a V, but like a sidewalls that would climb up. But being interlocking, that could probably be somewhat easily done. There's a bit of, and then bring it up so that, and then, as you said, it's good that the fact that there's still work there, so there's still, workers and everything and equipment. So like, I mean, it's going to cost a little bit more, but I think it can still be done at this point in time instead of waiting like next year or the year after.
Yeah, well,
So thank you so much, Councillor, for looking after this.
Well, no problem. Just call me Doug.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And yeah, you'll have to report back to us and let us know what the resolution is and what happens. Was there any other?
I don't think it's a problem in downtown Lindsay, because you have the angled parking. And
Right.
so, but I haven't looked at the spaces downtown Lindsay to see if there's a ramp or what there is or how they access the curb. I must admit that I haven't taken note.
Barb?
I just remembered something. I had a couple reach out to me, Councillor Elmsley, and I think they were talking to you as well, from Woodville.
Yes.
Yeah, and there was an expression of snow removal on a paved road.
I think they're in Glen Arm.
Okay.
And the problem was that there is a paved shoulder that they use to get to the mailbox. And one of the individuals has accessibility issues. And when they don't clean when they don't clean the snow away properly on the paved shoulder, then they have to be on the road. And there are also some young mothers up there with carriages, and they have the same problem. So in my monthly meeting with Public Works, I did bring that up, and they promised that they would take special note up in the Glenarm area and make sure that they cleaned it off. I also had the same comment on Cameron, south of the Cameron Road. There again it's more like a paved shoulder. Now that's Highway 35, which is done by the province, except the province won't do the sidewalks. There are sidewalks north of the Cameron Road, which the city clears. And so I've asked them to clear the paved shoulder south of the Cameron Road, because that again is where people must walk or have passage. So they've said that they will look at doing that when they do the other sidewalks.
Oh, that's great. It's good to hear.
Yeah, hopefully that solves that problem.
Yeah, I had mentioned to that couple, you know, especially the one that has a disability, that you can also reach out to the post office, okay, to ask for assistance and actually direct mail, like, so they'll bring it right to their home.
Okay.
So that's another resource. However, when we have, you know, people with strollers and little babies
Yeah.
and such, we still have to address that as well. So,
Sure.
you know, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point, Barb. I didn't know that they would do that. And I know that they do clean out in front of the mailboxes, but I thought it would be a stretch to ask them to clean the paved shoulder.
Probably would be.
All right. Was there any last questions for Councillor Elmsley? Not at this point. Okay. If we could get a motion to approve the reports 5.1 through 5.4. Sharon, thank you. Seconded by Sonia, and all in favor. Perfect. On to new and other business. We have Barb, who's going to take us through 6.1, the municipal election accessibility plan that is at the end of the agenda package today.
Thanks, Crystal. Yes, did everybody have an opportunity just to review what was there and included within your agenda? Pretty much. And did you have any comments whatsoever on the content? Anything that we're missing, you know, in this accessibility plan? Like we are, I believe, electronic vote again. Diane?
I just wondered, because there's a lot of, I assume this was based on previous elections, and were there any new additions to it, or was this a brand new thing?
Actually, we didn't reinvent the wheel. The last election, as far as the audit checklist and as far as the feedback form and as far as the plan itself, it has not changed, okay, from the last election, to be honest with you. There was no need, as far as my read, okay, to change it. Everyone that had accessibility concerns or that needed assistance, you know, during the last election seemed to be satisfied, extremely satisfied with the process. So there was no need to change anything in my mind.
Right, and so that was my assumption, that it probably was, just continuing what had been done or improved in the past. And my main question was just, how much, how easy is it to get this information? Like, does everybody know all this? Like, does everybody who has some accessibility issue know how accessible it really is? And is that information getting out there? Because just not knowing, I just wonder if there are people out there that think, that's just way too hard for me to vote, or it's too hard for me to get out there, or it's too hard one way or the other, because they don't know. So how well are we doing on just getting that information out there to everybody?
Looks like Councillor Elmsley wishes to answer that question.
Unless you want to do it, Barb.
Go ahead.
I would say that if you are on the voters list, like the first thing, you have to be on the voters list. If you're not on the voters list, you should make it known to somebody. If you phone the clerk's office and tell them you're not on the voters list, they will make arrangements to get you on the voters list. Then you receive a package in the mail. The problem is that municipal elections are notoriously underrepresented by voters. Voters vote more in federal and provincial elections than they do in municipal elections. We have not been, I don't believe, over 50% for many, many elections. And I think the last one, we were down around 43, 44% of the eligible voters who voted. Now, part of that problem, I believe, is because we have a lot of seasonal residents, and they don't necessarily feel the need to vote up here because they're voting where their primary residence is, and they either don't take note that they have a vote up here, or they don't choose to. But that certainly plays into it. But as far as I know, Diane, we make every effort to make sure that people get a package that has all the information in it on how they can vote. There are a couple of different ways to vote. You can not only vote online, I believe you can vote by phone, and you can vote by mail. There are no polls, but you can drop off your ballots. You can either mail them in directly to the clerk's office, or you can go to the library and they will collect them and send them in for you. So I think we've made, I'm not saying we've covered all the bases. There are things that may not, that we may need to do better, but we don't know about them. And if we hear about them, then I'm sure we would include them.
Joel, actually, our deputy clerk, has just included some information on chat there for us. There isn't any mail-in vote. It's all electronic.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
All right.
changed. Okay.
But you can phone in, can't you?
Yes. So,
yes,
and
you
to
can
clarify from the accessibility plan, does that say on Voters Day you can go and somebody will, so you can, during the voting time, you can go to the library to do phone voting or electronic voting, and then on election day you can go where, Barb?
there will be various different locations
Okay.
set up. One thing I will mention is there's a dedicated election page, okay, on the city website, number one. Number two, our communications team does an excellent job communicating this information out, to our public. And number three, our councillors that are running, and the mayor that's running, mayors, like whoever runs for election, certainly shares this information. The clerk's office is very responsive to phone calls, providing information to people. So there's internet and telephone, as well as electronic touchscreen at an in-person location. So those are the three ways. The in-person locations will be identified, okay, ahead of time and communicated out. Will be available on, of course, our website. There's also a voterlookup.ca to check the early voters list. So it's voterlookup.ca, so that you can look to see if you're on the list. Make sure you're on the list, and you can, contact the clerk's office if you don't appear to be there, and let them know, and they can make arrangements to have you included. So, there's I feel there's very good communication all around about the election, because the anyone that signs to run for the election is given a ton of information about how the vote takes place, where the locations are, everything like that. And that we're not totally prepared to provide that information today, okay, but that page will be established before the new year.
Okay. All right. Thank you for answering that.
Andre, did you have your hand up for a comment?
And
Sorry?
Joel, oh, sorry.
Oh,
Did
no,
you-
no, it wasn't.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay, Joel also included a comment in chat saying that the election page is established now. It just wasn't available when I included this on your agenda. So it's kawarthlakes.ca/election. Okay, so all the information's there for us now. So the sites I'm not sure if they're identified yet, because they have to go through the audit process, but they would be added to that site as the locations are made available.
Thank you,
Any
Barb.
other? Yeah.
I was going to say the same thing. Was there any other questions, comments? No? Okay. So we'll move on to 6.
Just before we do that,
Yeah.
we do need a recommendation. So the recommendation that's written within the agenda, Crystal,
Yes.
that the 2022 election accessibility plan, election feedback form, and election site accessibility checklist be received and endorsed by the Kawartha Lakes Accessibility Advisory Committee. So we would like to see that endorsed if possible.
Is there anyone, Councillor Elmsley, would like to make that? And Andre second it, and all in favor? Wonderful.
Thank you, much appreciated.
Thank you. And 6.2, Andre is going to tell us a bit about the wheelchair curling.
Unmute myself. Okay. I was so happy to be the member to have to do that. So that was very, very much fun. First of all, I have to really put in place that the Bob Cajun Curling Club and their members were absolutely fantastic to provide this service. Things like we had to come, when we came through their main door, accessible door, they were able to clean the wheelchairs, but we have to have clean wheelchairs to go onto the ice. So they had two people basically clean all whenever could be dirty on the chair, and then they moved us and provided us some hot chocolate and donuts and stuff like that. And then they had brought in this committee, they had 3-4 coaches that were involved throughout the Toronto area and probably even anywhere in the eastern where central area where we are located, that coached wheelchair curling so they can give us a good idea of how to do these things. So very well organized. They were very patient. They were very helpful. So I have a few pictures if people want to see it. I'll try this. So now, as you said, I have one on if all I have to do is put the share screen, correct?
If you have it right in front of you on your laptop, you just
Yeah,
go share
I see
screen.
it, and I'll do it right now and see if that works. Is that the one? Share. Oh, okay, see.
There you go.
So this is the first one when we first started. So there was a few of us, even that lady that would be where I'm sitting on the ice on my left hand side. She was having some hard times, but she was still helped so much, and as well as myself too. This gentleman here was trying to show me, okay, I have to push the rock with my wheelchair to go onto the other side. So very, very helpful. So how they do this, actually, just to explain very quickly, is whereas wheelchair curling, you have to get onto the ice, and then you got to stay behind what they call a house, where all the rings, like the colored rings, so that you get the wheels of the wheelchair cooled. Otherwise, it would mark all of the ice. So that was one of them we did. Let's see if I can do this now. Can I just change? Okay, can you see that? Perfect. So now this is where we're just going across. So actually, the gentleman that was with me is his name was Carl. This is Carl Brennick, and he's one of the gentlemen that's really involved into the curling, wheelchair curling. Then we have now here. What they did is there were 6 of us that were that 6 people in wheelchairs that were joined that went there to try out, just to show us how to do things. So we each had an end of the ice, and then they were showing us how this was done. So now we go. Okay, I'm gonna get this over here. So for me, because I have issues with my hand grip, they found a solution. If you see right here, I don't know if you can see where my plus, this little, they taped my hand to the stick with, so I had a mitt, and they taped my hand to the stick. So therefore, as I'm moving it up, so, because this is the push stick that the top here, the black spot here, connects to the rock. So that was kind of funny, but they were so very well, very easy. And this is obviously for somebody that has a grip problem. They say basically there's always a way. And then here, basically what we were doing at the very end, we made two teams of 3. And basically I'd place some rocks in the center ice here. And unfortunately, I was one of them. Embarrassingly, I could not push the rock. At my takeout speed, I might be able to go to the center ice. So, and there was a few other people that still had a hard time. So what they did is they went halfway, and just to because a lot of these, I think there's only 2 of us that knew how to curl. So the other people, just to see how it's done. So they were placing some rocks, and then like here, what I had to do is basically the idea is if this gentleman, he's actually the one that has the blue rock in front of him. He's the gentleman that is in charge of that helps coaching for curling, wheelchair curling, and just giving us some ideas. So they were extremely. I don't know how many other adjectives I can ask. I could state how helpful they were, and patient, and they've actually and they were, like they were saying, Lindsay Curling Club also is accessible, and if anybody is wishing to try to go there, and a lot of people will be willing to help. So very, very impressed. That's all that I can say. Any questions or?
Sounds like they might be up for an award next year.
So I don't know, as I was stuck with my hand. So, and this is, I'm the right hand, and I couldn't push the rock at all. Because again, the ice is very sticky. You know, when you see these rocks and they stay there for a couple of seconds, then there's a force you got just to get it out of the way to get it moving. But I'll try it later. But I got to strengthen myself. I know I got to strengthen myself. And this lady here that's right to my left, on my right, I mean, also had a hard time, and because of her disability, probably is a little too hard for her to do. But they're still willing. They're still saying, "Well, we'll place the rock even much closer, just for I mean." So they're trying to be very accommodating. So it's good. I think it worked really well.
It's awesome. So do you
Thank you.
see where you can stop share now?
Okay,
Perfect.
stop it. When I
Hey,
see that,
you're an
Oh.
expert.
did I do it?
Yeah, you're an expert.
I don't
Thank
know
you.
what I did, but I got it. So anyways, it was very enjoyable, and I had to decline because they wanted us to even go some more. You know, they even gave us some more free ice time to do it. But right now I have too many things. But I know I have to strengthen my upper body strength. But you don't have to be that strong, because I know I'm quite weaker. So that's good. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I love that they were so good at finding solutions for you. And I've curled a little bit, but things I wouldn't have thought about, like the fact that they would have to clean your chair before you go on the ice and cool the wheels to protect the ice. So things you wouldn't have even thought about, but pretty fascinating. It sounds like it was really good. Oh, you're on mute if you're trying to comment, Andre.
There's the first picture that shows there's a ramp to get onto the ice. Well,
Okay.
this was the first time that they've ever done this, and I know the clubhouse. So the Bob Cajun, because Carl, the organizer, had stated, "Look, Andre's going to be going on the ice, and he's got a chair. So the chair, my chair, and myself comes to 600 pounds." So they really raced and got themselves a good strong ramp, and there's still a little lip of about maybe 3/4 of an inch, which actually is a problem with the wheelchairs, because there's the small wheels on the front. If you're not, even with manual wheelchairs, you have to be able to tilt. You have to learn, and people that use wheelchairs a lot, they can tilt the front a little bit. But so they got to even figure out a way to fix that up. So this is something I explained that. So I know they're really willing. I'm very impressed.
Me too. Thank you so much for sharing. Well, that brings us to the end of our agenda this afternoon. Our next meeting is Wednesday, November 17th, I believe. And Barb will be in contact to set up working group meetings prior to that as well. So I think that's everything for today. We've gone through the agenda. If we can have a motion to adjourn. Sonia, seconded by Andre. It was lovely to see everybody again today, and we will see you in November, if not sooner.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.
Take care,
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone.